Whether you agree or disagree, or it just simply goes over your head, you can still quote me, because that's what I said.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? Well, as you can tell by the beautiful trim on my screen, that this video today is going to be about pets. Now, my love of pets has been happening ever since I was a little kid. But before I get into that, if you did not hear it from these two lips, then you've been lied to and you've been tricked. Because before you can repeat it or even start to debate it, you just better make sure that you heard me say it. All right, y'all. So this topic is called Fur Baby Memories. Um, Talks about my love of pets through the years. Unfortunately, now I gotta put this out here right away. Unfortunately, I don't have. I do have pictures of my last two cats and my current cat, but the one I had before the previous two and my very first cat, I don't have any pictures of. I'll break that down in the video so you'll know what happened with each of them. Throughout my life, I have had. Let me count because let me make sure I gotta count. Okay. Six pets. One that I had to get rid of, I couldn't keep, but it was six in total. Okay. The first pet that I had, my mom um, surprised me and my brother one morning. I believe I was 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old. And I remember we had just woke up that morning, and my mother said, "Come downstairs, guys. I have a surprise for you." And I remember me and my brother, wiping the sleep out of our eyes. We was anxious to go down and see what surprise our mother had. It wasn't Christmas. It wasn't nothing like that. It wasn't our birthday. So we was really trying to figure out, okay, what is it that she got? We get down to the bottom of the steps and we see this tiny little fur ball running across the room. And it was a little kitten. I wish I had a picture of the kitten that we had, who eventually became our cat that we grew to love, but I don't have a picture. That was when I was very young. That was back when, the only cameras back then was Kodak and Polaroid. So you really could not, unless you kept those pictures, and one day you'll find out what happened to all that stuff, but I don't have any pictures of Peaches. But Peaches was a calico, and her paws had like an orange color on them. And then she had like over her eyes, she had a splash of orange. So Mama named her Peaches. And I remember when we first saw her, we fell in love with her. I went to straight picking her up. I wasn't used to the claws though. That took a little getting used to, because you know how kittens are. When you first pick them up, they and they don't mean to do it, but that's just their nature. They learning how to use their claws. And I remember, but I was picking her up, petting her. My brother could either give or take her. He loved her, but he wasn't the kind that was going to pick her up and play with her. He just wasn't that type. Me, I was that type. I was picking her up, playing with her and everything. We had Peaches with us for a long, long time. Peaches literally grew up with me and my brother. I know, I'm trying to think of some of the things about her that I remember. One of the things I do remember is that Peaches was not the typical cat. She ate cat food that we would give her, but she also would eat the stuff that we ate. She ate popcorn. She ate potato chips and she did eat ice cream. We didn't know at the time that that was probably not the best thing to give her, but we did anyway. We did anyway. And we just love that cat. Her favorite hiding place was behind the refrigerator. I don't know what it was about the refrigerator, but she always would hide behind there. She would just lay behind the refrigerator. Um, I don't think she liked being picked up, but she allowed me. I was the only one in the family that she would let pick her up. I would put socks on her. I would put things on her head like little baby bonnets and stuff. I mean, I know I drove that cat crazy, but she let me do those things. She was just a sweet cat. Um, the duration of us having her, we lived in three different homes for a certain amount of time. Um, I can't remember where we were living when I was 6, but I do know that when we moved to an apartment complex, she went with us. And then when my mom moved into a house, she moved with us to the house. And then when we was getting ready to move to another apartment complex, unfortunately, that apartment complex did not accept pets. Now, when this incident happened where we were moving to an apartment complex and they didn't accept pets, I was 13. Peaches was still living with us. And when we were living in the house, Mama, I feel, made the mistake of letting her go outside. Because up until we moved into the house, she was an indoor cat. She was never allowed to go outside. But when we moved into the house, my mom started letting her go outside. And what she would do is she would go outside during the day. Whenever she got hungry, whenever she wanted to, come back in and eat, she would meow at the back door and we would open the door and let her in. Well, when we were getting ready to move to the apartment that didn't allow pets, my mom them did not tell me and my brother that they were not going to take Peaches with us. They purposely didn't tell us. And we moved and they just left Peaches out there. So to this day, I mean, I know that she died. I know that Peaches died, but what actually happened, I don't know. That's something that we never knew what happened to her. I remember when we moved into the house and we were in the midst of unpacking our stuff, me and my brother, we stopped and we was looked around and we were like, okay, Peaches ain't here. And so we went and asked moms, like, where's Peaches? And that's when they told us we had to leave her. We could not bring her because, this apartment doesn't allow us to have pets. To this day, y'all, I'm still angry that they did that because I cried for 2 weeks, literally for 2 weeks, because every time I thought about Peaches coming to the back door, meowing for us and us not opening the door, that just broke my heart. It just killed me to think that for all those years, we were all Peaches had. We were her only family. We were the only people that took care of her. And then we just abandoned her. We just left her with no food, nowhere to stay. I told my mother, I said, I'm still mad at you for that. I said, because you basically killed her, because I don't think she lived very long after that because she depended on us for everything. My mother apologized for that, but to this day, I still feel some type of way about that. After Peaches, we went for quite a little while and didn't have a pet. Matter of fact, we didn't have one until I moved out on my own. When I moved out on my own into my own apartment, I wanted a pet because I was really just feeling still guilty and bad about how, we did Peaches. And so my mom checked with a coworker. Her coworker's name was Roberta, and Roberta said that she had this cat that was not getting along with the other cats in the home, and the cat's name was Rosie. And so she asked me, did I want to take Rosie? And I was like, sure, I'll take her. Rosie was a short hair. She wasn't a tabby. She was kind of like she was almost like a calico, except her colors were not as defining as Peach's colors were. She was gray and brown. Those were her colors. And I remember she was very fat. That was the first thing I noticed. And she was missing an eye. When I asked Roberta about that, Roberta said she had gotten into a fight with one of the cats, and one of the cats scratched her eye out. And when I asked why she was so big, she said, oh, she just likes to eat. I didn't know that there was another reason for that. But at the time, I figured, hey, well, if she likes to eat, I'll always make sure that she's got food, and I'll take care of her. Rosie was, let's put it this way. Rosie was very playful. And see, that was a switch from Peaches, because Peaches wasn't playful. Peaches was kind of lazy. She kind of laid around behind that refrigerator. She would let me pick her up and but she wasn't the playful type. She wasn't the run around and jump around the house type of. Rosie was playful. She wanted to play. She wanted to chase toys and do that type of thing. So my cousin Nene at the time was living with us, and Rosie loved her. When Nene would come to my house, it was almost like I wasn't there. She loved to play with Nene. She was a playful cat. Now, unfortunately, Rosie, out of all the pets that I have had, Rosie was the one that lived with me the least amount of time, because she only lived for 6 years after I got her. I don't know how long she lived prior to me having her, but I had her for 6 years. In the 6th year, I started noticing that she was losing weight really, really fast. And I had been taking her to regular vet visits all the time. I was taking her to regular vet visits, but something, was off, because she was just losing weight dramatically. And I was trying to figure out what that was. She was still eating. She was still drinking water, but she was losing weight. But I actually, kind of blew it off a little bit, because I was taking her to the vet. The vet wasn't telling me that there was a problem. I'm noticing that something's off, but I don't know what it is. So I kind of just let it go. When I really realized that it was something that I really needed to do something about, I came home from work one day. And one thing about Rosie was, whenever I came home, she would always be waiting at the door for me. She knew when I was going to walk through the door. And at this time, my mother was living with me, and my cousin Nene was living with me. I had went from being in my own apartment to where to make a long story short, we had some deaths in the family, and, my mom had ran into some financial problems and stuff. So my mom came to move in with me, and my mom was taking care of my cousin Nene at the time. So they all just came to live with me. So we're all living in this house. We're all used to Rosie by now. She's a family pet. And I come home from work, and Rosie's not there. She's not at the door. And that was odd for me. So I'm going, oh God, what's going on with Rosie? So I started calling her name and see if she was ever into something. A lot of times if she wasn't at that door and I would call her name, she'd come running. because that meant that she was either using her litter box or she was eating something or she was getting into something. So I called her name. She still didn't come. So at this point, I'm going, okay, where is Rosie? Where is she? And I remembered that they say when animals are about to die, they like to hide out. They like to stay hidden, you know. So that was the first thing that was running through my mind is, oh God, is she dead? Because I was thinking, is she already dead? I was walking towards my bedroom and I was still calling her name, just thinking that at some point I'm going to see her run towards me. But as I'm walking to my bedroom, the steps that lead down to the family room, I seen her at the bottom of the steps trying to come up the steps to greet me. And every time she tried to take her leg and lift it up on the step, she would put it back down, and then she'd try to put it back up, and then she put it back down. And I saw that, and I started crying right away, and I said, something's wrong with Rosie. I don't know what's wrong. And so I went down the steps, and I was, telling her, oh, baby, you don't have to climb the steps. Mommy got you. Mommy come get you. And when I picked her up to carry her up the steps, now, like I told y'all, she used to be very fat. When I picked her up, all I felt was bones. She was so thin. And I said, I've got to take her to the vet. She's too thin, y'all. And when I showed my mom and Nene how thin she was, and she wasn't that thin when I had left that morning. So I didn't understand how she could lose weight that fast. And so I said, I'm taking her to the vet. So we all hopped in the car and put her in the pet carrier, and we went to the vet. I went back there. The vet checked her, ran some tests, and he told me that she had cancer of the liver and that it had metastasized to all of her body. It had just spread throughout her body, and that there was nothing that they could do. He said she is dying as we speak. I had never dealt with that before. Like I said, with Peaches, I was left with I don't know what happened to Peaches. So my memory of Peaches was a good one because I was able to remember her in the last moments that I spent with her. I didn't see her suffer, so I didn't have to have that in my mind. But now I'm having this doctor tell me that my cat is dying as I speak and that there's nothing that they can do. And so he said, you're going to have to put her down. Now, where I fought the vet was that I made it clear to him that I've never put an animal down and that I did not know what the process was. When I said that, he just basically said it's going to be like she goes to sleep. So I took that literally. I took that as, okay, it's not going to be a violent death. It's not going to be something that's going to jolt me. If she's just going to close her eyes and just go to sleep, then that's okay. I can deal with that. So I made the decision while I was back there to go ahead and put her down. My mom and my cousin Nene were still out in the waiting room, and I was back there with Rosie. I decided that I wanted the last face that Rosie saw was mine, and I wanted to hold her. He said that was okay, and so here I am cradling her in my arms, and I literally was crying because I did not know that she was sick. And I was basically saying, baby, if I had known that you were sick, I would have tried to do everything I could to try to help you. I said, but I brought you to the vets and they never told me that you had cancer. I didn't know you had it. And I was just apologizing all over the place. Right in the middle of me talking. He didn't give me a heads up that he was administering the stuff or anything. He just put the stuff in her, and her head fell over. Hold on a minute, y'all. My screen's going a little dark, so I gotta handle this. Just hang on. I don't know why my screen is going dark, but I'm gonna plug it in to see if that could be the problem. Hold on just a minute. There we go. There we go. Okay. As I was saying, he didn't give me a heads up that he was administering the stuff, and he just put the stuff in her, and while I'm talking, her head falls over. That did something to me. To see her head fall over like that. I remember I screamed and I slid down the wall, and I was just crying uncontrollably. My mom and my cousin Nene came running back there, and they seen me on the floor holding Rosie, and I was like, she's gone, and he didn't tell me her head was gonna fall over like that. I mean, I was just crying, and my mom started crying. Nene was crying. The vet just kind of took her away from me and just walked away. I mean, there was no compassion from that vet at all. No compassion at all. He had no concern for what he had just done to me. If he had given me a heads up to let me know, okay, I'm getting ready to put the stuff in, you might want to lay her head on your shoulder. You might want to. He didn't walk me through that. And I felt like he had a responsibility. When someone has not put an animal down and they're doing it for the first time, you need to walk them through it so that they know what to expect, so that it doesn't catch them off guard, because they're already emotional knowing that they're going to lose their pet, and he didn't do that. When I came out into the waiting room, every pet owner that was sitting out there was wiping tears from their eyes. They all heard me when I screamed. They all heard me crying. They all saw me and Mama and Nene crying. And I remember I made a promise to myself that day. I said, I'm not ever putting another pet down again. I'm not doing this. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough to do this. It was too hard for me. I did it because he left me with no other option, but I made up my mind that day I will not do that again. I let a little bit of time go by, not very much. I leaped into being a fur baby, a fur mom again. Me and my mom, a lot of things had changed. Nene had eventually went to go back, with her mother. My mom's financial situation was improving a little bit. Me and my mother decided that we were just going to be roommates, because my mother had went through, she had lost a lot of her siblings at that point, and she was really dealing with a lot of loss. And I did not want to leave her by herself. I really did not. My mother needed, a friend. And I'm her daughter, so I love you and I'm your daughter, but I'm also your friend. So instead of putting a financial burden of her trying to live on her own, I was like, Mama, we mother and daughter, we done this. Let's just stay roommates. So that's what we did. And then we decided after the death of Rosie that we were going to get another cat. So we went to the animal shelter this time. And I remember walking in to the animal shelter, and I was looking around at all the cats, and I've seen some cute ones. Now, get this, we agreed that we were only going to get one cat. That's what me and my mom agreed upon. But I guess God had other plans, because when we went to the animal shelter and I'm looking in the cages at all the different cats, I seen this one cage where the litter box was pushed to the front of the cage. And at first I didn't think there was any animals in there, because the litter box was what I was looking at. And so I remember asking the lady that worked there, I'm like, is there a cat in there? And she said, yeah, there's two in there. I said, 2? I said, where are they at? She said, oh, they're probably hiding. They're scared of people. They're scared of people. And I said, really? And so I peeked down, I looked down in the box, and I seen 2 sets of eyes peering at me over the litter box. And I don't know, for some reason that was a challenge for me. It was like all the other ones that were, at the front of the cage begging for me to take them home, because all of them were meowing. When they see a human, they meowing because they want to go with you. But I was challenged by the ones that was hiding. And so I started saying, hey, I said, hello, who's back there? And Shamar, the boy cat, slowly started coming out from behind the litter box. And by the time I was just talking to him, he's sniffing my fingers and rubbing his head against the cage door and my fingers. Now, the other cat in there ain't budged, still peering at me from behind the litter box. So I had decided, when I was able to get that first one to come, the boy cat, I had made up my mind, well, we'll just take him. The lady told me, she said, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And I said, what? I said, wouldn't do what? She said, that's his mother in there. And I said, what? She said, yes. She said they came together. She said they were offered up. They were relinquished when he was a kitten, and she's the mama cat. The owner did not want any kittens, so she got rid of the mama cat and Shamar. Well, I'm calling him Shamar because that's what I named him. So when I seen that was his mama, and that technically he has never been away from her, he's always been with her, I could not break them up. And I turned to my mom and I said, Mama, I can't leave them both here. I said, if he goes, she's got to go too. And my mom was like, you're going to bring 2 cats? I'm like, yep, I'm bringing 2 cats. And so here's the messed up part. When I told them that I was going to take both of them, then the people said, okay. When they opened the cage to get them out, Shamar, he took his claws because he was scared of people. So when they opened the cage and she went to grab him, the lady's pulling, how cats, take their claws and hold on. He's holding on, his claws caught on the cage door, and this lady's just pulling him. And I said, don't do that. Don't do that. And she said, well, he's not going to let go. I said, yes, he will. I said, watch this. I said, watch this. Watch me work. I said, let him go. And so she let him go. He ran, or kind of like scuttled back into the cage behind the litter box. And I just took the time to talk him out. I was like, you want to go home with me? You want to go home with me? I said, come on, we gonna go home. You gonna go home with me. We gonna have fun. You gonna have a new place. I said, and your mommy gonna come too. And we gonna have fun. And he slowly came out. And when I had the carrier, he climbed right in it. Now, his mother, she wasn't falling for my talk that easy. So basically I was like, honey, if you want to see your baby, you got to come too. I said, come on, mama, come on. And she eventually came out enough to where I could just pick her up, scoop her up, and put her in the carrier. I brought them home, and I remember I put a blanket on the floor and took the crate and just opened up the crate and just let them sniff the house and everything their first night. I just basically let them have free reign. And I put the blanket on the floor so that if they wanted to lay down on the blanket, they could lay down on the blanket. Shamar and Cassie, because I named her Cassie and I named him Shamar, they were short hair gray tabbies. I do have pictures of both of them, but this streaming service that I have does not allow me to add pictures. I can add video files in my videos, but for some reason, it won't let me drop a picture. I don't understand that. I don't know why, but I do have pictures of both of them, but I can't show them to you, unfortunately. Um, they lived with me the longest out of every pet that I've had. Shamar, uh, I'll just break down their little personalities and what Shamar did not like to be picked up, but he allowed me to pick him up. Um, he always wanted to be near me. He always wanted to sit by me. He always wanted to be near where I was. And if he wasn't near me, he was vocal. He was the vocal one. He was always meowing and yelping. And I mean, if he wasn't near me, that's what he did. Cassie, on the other hand, she was not as vocal. She could be, but she wasn't as vocal as Shamar. And she could give or take me, you know. She had moments where she would actually put her paw up. When she wanted to be petted, she would raise her paw. And when she'd raise her paw, I knew that she wanted to be petted. If she wasn't raising her paw, she didn't want to be bothered, and you just had to leave her alone. Shamar would just get vocal, and that you would know by his yelping and meowing that he wants attention. What I loved about them is they knew each other so well that a lot of times if they were left alone, they entertained each other. They played with each other. They fought with each other. I mean, and they both were fixed because I did not want to have any kittens. And, you know, animals are the only ones that can be intimate with their parents. They can do that, unfortunately. And so I knew that if I didn't get him and her fixed, that the possibility of him impregnating his own mother, that was highly possible. So I had them both fixed before they came home. Oh, wow. Cassie was the first one to pass away. Cassie lived with me for 16 years. Before she passed, she lost a lot of weight. She wasn't eating, and she passed away in the middle of the night. I woke up the next morning and Shamar was meowing like crazy. And when I came across her, in her bed, she had just passed on in her cat bed. And he was letting me know that she was gone. He sat on her bed after we had, gotten her out, got her body out. He sat on her bed. He mourned her. He really, really did. And then he lived with me for 19 years. So he lived 3 years after Cassie passed. 2019 was not a good year for me because Shamar died May 20th, 2019. And then my mother died July 27th, 2019. So I lost Shamar and my mom in the same year. And Shamar, out of all the cats that I've had, Shamar was my absolute favorite because I was able to take him from a point of non-trust to where he wanted to be around me all the time. My animals always had more than one name, except Peaches, because Mama named Peaches. I didn't name her, but Rosie, when she was alive, I would call her Rosie, but because Rosie had attitude sometimes I would call her Pickle because she had a sourness about her sometimes when she just did not want to be bothered with any human being. So I would sometimes call her Pickle. Shamar, his nickname was Homie. And he would answer to both of them. He would answer to both names. I'd be like, my homie, how my homie doing? And he would just come up and just rub all on me and cuddle. And if I called him Shamar, he would cuddle. Cassie, her other name was Woo Woo Girl. And the reason why it was Woo Woo Girl is because when I would go woo woo woo, like Sinclair on Living Single, I would go woo woo woo, woo woo woo. She loved that sound. And so I just said, that's my little woo woo girl. And she would love it. And a lot of times if I said, that's my woo woo girl, she would raise her paw to be petted. So she passed before him. He lived 3 years after her. I was devastated after losing my mom and losing Shamar in the same year. I had kind of told myself I wasn't going to go down the pet road again. And so I went all the rest of 2019, all of 2020, and half, or not even half, I'll probably say a few months into 2021. I'd probably say February of 2021, I was wanting a pet to love. I was really wanting an animal to love. And I didn't want to pay no money for one, though. I really didn't. What I didn't know was God had my pet waiting for me, and that it was going to come in a way that I never saw coming. Y'all know that I work with foster kids and I transport kids. And there was one particular family that was very kind to me every time I came to their home to pick up a kid. They were very, very, very kind to me. And I did not know that they had, said that I was one of their favorite drivers. And so one day I came to pick up a kid from their home and they told me, we have a gift for you. And I was like, okay. I said, what is it? And they said, you pick. And I said, pick what? And they said, see those cats out there? And I looked and I seen they had something like 5 kittens and a big cat that were running around in the grass playing. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she said, the big cat is ours. That's the mom cat. She said, but you can have your pick of the kittens. And whichever one you want, you can have it. And I said, well, how much is it going to cost? She said, it's a gift. She said, you are one of our favorite drivers, and we just want to show you how much you mean to us. And I was like, oh, wow, that is so sweet. So I said, okay. Well, I said, well, in order for me to pick them, I said, I gotta know how they vibe with me. I said, because if they too hyper, I can't deal with that. So they was like, okay. So they gave me each of the kittens to hold, and the other 4 were very hyper and was scratching me. And so I was like, oh no, you can't. If you scratching me and you ain't even got the okay to come into my home and you already, then you can't stay with me. You got to stay here. When I picked up the cat that I have now, he sat on my chest and he snuggled with me. And I said, this is the one. This is the one. Now, I was under the impression that they were going to give him to me at a later date, or like give me time to cat-proof my apartment, and because my house was not cat-proof. And so I was like, well, maybe they're going to give me a little time to get this done before they, try to put him on me. That didn't work. The minute I picked him out, they put a bag of cat food in my car. They put him in a box that didn't have a lid or nothing. It was just an open box with a blanket inside. And they gave me a thing of water. And they said, you can take him home. The first 30 days, y'all. Oh my God, the first 30 days. He wore me out, getting into everything. I'm running in behind him. Don't do this. Don't touch that. Don't get into this. Don't do that. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. Um, but we've adjusted. We now have a system and a routine. He has now been with me since May of 2001. So as of May 2002, he's been here 1 year. And if you want to know what he looks like, now I have to warn you that in this clip, he doesn't really, you don't really get to focus on his face too much because he was too busy looking out the window when I filmed this. But this gives you an idea of who he is. That's my baby. That's my cat. His name is Brownie. He's a year and a couple of months old. He is fixed. And there he is looking out the window. That's my baby. There you go. That's my baby. And hopefully he's with me for a very long time. He's very hyper. Because he's a farm animal, because he was running around free in the grass from the day I seen him out there. The family that gave him to me, they live on a farm. So he was a farm cat. And it's almost like you can't get that out of him. He likes to leap and jump into things. I'm constantly, on him about don't do this, don't do that. But he knows what he can do and what he can't do. I rarely have had to raise my voice in him because he pretty much knows what he can do and what he can't do. But the first 30 days of him living with me, oh God, I didn't think we was going to make it because he was a kitten and he was very small and he was getting into everything. The only time that I ever had it, because I've never had a dog as a pet, I came very close. I had brought a stray dog home one time back when my mother was alive. We actually took in a stray dog, but the dog started tearing up stuff, and we was living in a rental property at the time. And so we had to surrender him because we didn't have a yard for him to be in to keep him secure. Children excited him to the point where he was chasing children in the neighborhood, and we didn't want to get sued in case he attacked somebody because we didn't know his history and we didn't know whether he was a dog that would have attacked someone. He was a yellow lab though. And I think that's why if I get a dog, I either want a Yorkie or a yellow lab. I really don't care for any other kind of dog. Those are the two breeds that I like the most, the little Yorkies and the yellow labs. And the yellow lab I like just simply because of the dog that we had taken in. But I had to surrender him. I had to take him to the shelter because he was just tearing up the place and we could not afford to have him tear up everything. So that's just my little history of being a pet owner. I'm pretty sure Brownie's going to be with me for a long, long time. I intend to have a pet till the day I draw my last breath. That is something that my mother birthed in me when she brought Peaches home. My love for animals. I love all animals. Now there are animals I don't like, but I love all of them because they all have a purpose. But I don't like mice, and I don't like rats, and I don't like frogs. I just don't like them. But I love them because they have a purpose. Their purpose just don't belong under my roof. That's it. But anyway, that just kind of gives you a little history on my fur babies, the journey that I've had. I love animals. I live in an apartment complex out here where practically everybody out here has at least one pet. Most of them have dogs. And I have a way with dogs. Dogs come up. They want to lick on me. They want to jump me. They want to, run after me. I rarely have a dog or a cat that doesn't take a liking to me. I am cautious around pit bulls just simply because of their nature. Not that I think they're bad, because I don't. I think it all depends on how they are raised. But at the same time, I'm cautious because I know that they have abilities that other dogs don't have. And that ability can be harmful to me if it is unleashed on me. So I'm just a little cautious around them. But I hope you enjoyed my little journey of going down memory lane. My promotional pick for today, I guess I would have to say, is Disastrous Beauty. Disastrous Beauty is a channel by a woman, and I want to say her name is Cherry. I can't remember her name. I just know it as Disastrous Beauty, but she has a channel here on YouTube where she talks about wigs and makeup and her family. She does a lot of wig reviews. She does a lot of makeup reviews and stuff like that. And I like the way she connects with her audience. She's very comical. And she's not afraid. See, as you see, I'm not wearing any makeup today. And I feel a little uneasy about that. I always feel uneasy when I don't have my face on. But what I love about her is that you see her sometimes in her videos and she don't have her face made up yet, and she's not embarrassed or ashamed about that. So I like that about her. If you haven't checked out her channel, it's called Disastrous Beauty. It's a funny channel. I love it. She interacts with her audience very well. And she, like I said, she does wig reviews and makeup reviews, and she talks a lot about her family. And she actually has some videos where you got to see her kids and her husband. So, I mean, it's a really good channel. You should check it out. But anyway, this is going to end my video. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. And until the next episode, I shall see you.
If you like my vibe, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Till the next time, see ya.